Good evening. On behalf of Jackson Park Pharmaceuticals Limited, makers of Lycored Preg, sachet of L-arginine, lycopene, and DHA, to prevent pregnancy complications, Doxipul DRL capsules containing doxycycline 100 milligrams, and for our Nari divisions, we have Endoreg Dynogest 2 milligram tablets and Cystelia M, brand containing myoinositols and D-chiroinistitols. I, Amit Saxena, along with my teammates, Dr. Deepika Chhabra, and our sales teams at Bareilly, Mr. Pushkar Singh, Area Sales Manager Pharma team, Mr. Tawheed Ali, and from our Nari team, we have Area Manager Mr. Mohan Singh Bisht and Mr. Anuj Kumar Bhardwaj. We all wish you a very happy new year and welcome you all to the meeting of Association of Bareilly Obs and Gynae Society. We wish to thank the President, Dr. Bharti Saran, Secretary, Dr. Meenakshi Goyal, and Clinical Secretary, Dr. Pragati Agarwal, for thinking of us to be our academic partner today. We are sure the topics to be discussed will be enlightening. I now request BOGS President, Dr. Bharti Saran, to kindly initiate the proceedings.
Good evening, everyone. A special thanks to Dr. Deepika for arranging this meeting. And thank you, Dr. Meenakshi, Dr. Pragati, for helping her and me out to arrange this. And a special thanks to all the four speakers, Dr. Latika, Dr. Sahila, Dr. Karuna, and Neeraji. So now we start with the official meeting, and Dr. Meenakshi, you welcome all the members who have joined in.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. भारती जी आर प्रेसिडेंट बरेली ऑब्स एंड गायनी सोसाइटी की, जो कि सिंपल, सॉफ्ट, चार्मिंग और डायनेमिक होने के संग संग सोशल कॉज में भी पूरा योगदान रहता है। जैसे प्रेग्नेंट लेडीज के लिए चाहे अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम है या वैक्सीनेशन है या ट्रेनिंग है, या फिर पुअर महिलाओं के लिए किसी भी पर्व पर साज सज्जा और साड़ी का वितरण। ओके, आई वेलकम ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स to this forum, and I wish again a very happy new year to all of you. मैं इस हैप्पी न्यू ईयर के लिए 2 शब्द जरूर कहना चाहूंगी, भारती जी परमिशन है तो।
बिल्कुल।
हम हर व्यक्ति को नए साल पर विश करते हैं कि उसके सुख, समृद्धि, संपन्नता और अच्छे स्वास्थ्य की कामना करें, लेकिन जानते हैं कि ये शुभ इच्छा कब चरितार्थ होगी? ये तभी चरितार्थ हो सकती है जब हम अपने जीवन में पर्यावरण के लिए जिम्मेवारी लें और उस जिम्मेवारी को समझें, तथा अपनी आने वाली पीढ़ी को भी यदि हम जीवन का तोहफा देना चाहते हैं तो उसको भी हम पर्यावरण संरक्षण में अपना योगदान देने के लिए प्रेरित करें तथा उसका अनावश्यक उपभोग पर अंकुश लगाने के लिए उसको शिक्षा दें। यह कैसे हो सकता है? हम हर साल अपने नए वर्ष की शुरुआत अपने ईश्वर को स्मरण करके करते हैं, तो हम क्यों ना इस साल से हम प्रभु और प्रकृति को एक ही माने। हम इसको ऐसे भी समझ सकते हैं कि यदि प्रकृति और प्रभु में कोई अंतर नहीं है, अतः प्रकृति के लिए ही समर्पण हमारा उनके लिए सच्चे शब्दों में श्रद्धा होगी, ताकि हम अपने पर्यावरण को संजो सके और अत्यधिक यूज से इसको बचा सके। ये हमारा बहुमूल्य तोहफा होगा यदि हम प्रकृति के संरक्षण में योगदान दें, और अत्यधिक उपयोग पर अंकुश लगाना ही हमारा और मेरा और हम सबकी तरफ से एक दूसरे को नव वर्ष का तोहफा होगा। Now I hand over my mic to Dr. Pragati for the further functioning of program.
Thanks Dr. Meenakshi. ये बहुत ही अच्छी बात कही है कि जो हम लोग का न्यू ईयर का तोहफा देने के लिए कि हम लोग को इसका पर्यावरण का संरक्षण तो बहुत जरूरी है, इसको बचा के रखना है।
Latika Didi, you are first again. Welcome.
No problem.
Dr. Latika, she is one of the gems of our box member.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, on the IUI updates.
So today I am going to speak on IUI. This is an overview on IUI. And in short, I'll tell you what is IUI. IUI is a painless, precise, simple, easy, cost-effective, and atraumatic technique we do very frequently in our day-to-day practice. What we do in IUI, a bolus of concentrated, motile, and morphologically normal and capacitated sperms are deposited in the uterine cavity near the opening ostia of the fallopian tube at the time of ovulation or before the time of ovulation or after the ovulation near the fundus. What are the indications for IUI? Male factors, ejaculatory failures, psychogenic or organic impotence, severe hypospadias, retrograde ejaculations, cryopreservation of sperm in cases of cancer treatment. When the patient is not able to do intercourse, we see in day-to-day practice that even after 1 or 2 years, consummation of marriage is not there. In that case, we can go for IUI if all other factors are normal. So abnormal male factors, when the sperm is not up to the mark, it is oligospermia, asthenospermia, teratozospermia, or infertility, we see no problem is there, no abnormality is there in any of the tests. So it is unexplained for infertility. After we do all the things, if the patient is not conceiving, we go for IUI in unexplained infertility. And when the husband is away from wife for a long time, we can preserve the semen and we can do IUI at the time of ovulation. And if the patient is HIV negative, with the husband is HIV positive, so we can do semen washing, because we have seen data is available. If we wash the semen up to 99%, this sperm will be free of HIV. Immunological infertility, anti-sperm antibody in serum, in seminal fluid, and if we see clumping of sperm, and even if the semen is viscous, we can go for IUI. We have seen many cases, if the semen is viscous, patient is not going to conceive. Female factors, anatomical defects, cervical mucous hostility, poor PCT test. Nowadays, we don't go for PCT test. We consider if the patient is not conceiving and we see no other factor is there, we go for IUI. We don't do PCT test. Ovarian problems, PCO, endometriosis, elderly women. If the patient is elderly, she must be having poor ovarian reserve. We don't have to wait for much. So 3 cycles we can try IUI. Then if it is not, she's not going to conceive, then we'll go for IVF. After tubal surgery, we have done the recanalization of the tube, so we can go for IUI. If the patient is having single tube, there are 50% chances of conception. We can go for IUI for fast results. Immunological, sexual dysfunction, unexplained infertility, as I already told you. What are the prerequisites for IUI? At least 1 tube should be patent for going for IUI, and washed and prepared sperm should be there. And monitoring of ovulation, endometrial lining must be free from pathology. Washed sample should contain at least a minimum of around 5 million of sperm. If it is less than 5 million, after washing the semen, this is difficult to get the results. So what we do in cases of IUI, controlled ovarian stimulation, atraumatic deposition of sperm. When we do IUI, it should be atraumatic. If we see blood comes on the cannula or it is traumatic, results are definitely going to be poor. So steps, what are the steps? Selection, counseling, protocol, folliculometry, tying of insemination, semen preparation, procedure. I'm going just fast because time is less. So selection and counseling. Complete workup for infertility is very, very necessary, as in case of infertility or in the case of IUI. Indications, we have to know the indication why we are going to have IUI in this case. Adequate counseling is very, very necessary. First, before going for IUI, we have to take the proper written consent. What is written in ICMR? ICMR consent, you have to take print of that, and you should have the signature of both husband and wife. And many times we see husband confidence you should gain, because sometimes husband thinks that this is not my semen and the doctor is going to change the semen. So you have to assure husband, because that we are going to take your semen only, we are not going to change your semen. And sometimes the religious problems are there. Some religion says that it is not according to their religion. Cost effective, already told you that this is very cheap, so cost doesn't causes much problem in this. And failure and success, you have to tell about the failure and success. Success rate is of, as we all know, this is only 10 to 20%. We have to tell for what indication we are going and what success it is going to give you, and there are chances of failure definitely. But patient don't create much problem because it is quite cheap. So, and complication, what are the complications, you should always tell to the patient. But in IUI, I think there is no problem. Now we'll go for ovarian stimulation protocol. Why we do ovarian stimulation? Why we don't want to do IUI in natural cycle? Because whenever we see the number of oocytes increases, there are more chances of conception. We have to have more than one oocyte, either it be 2 or 3. And whenever we give ovarian stimulation drugs, steroid production increases. The chances of implantation is always better when we give stimulation. Protocols, what the protocol used for IUI stimulation, clomiphene citrate, letrozole, clomiphene citrate with gonadotropins. It can be combined with gonadotropin, GnRH analogs, gonadotropins with CC, gonadotropins with letrose, gonadotropins, letrose, and antagonist, gonadotropin, CC with antagonist or agonist. So we can combine letrozole and clomiphene citrate with gonadotropins and GnRH antagonist or agonist. So GnRH analog, gonadotropin and SCG. GnRH agonist, recombinant FSH and SCG. You already know, I think. We will start with the CC or letrozole, and we will give gonadotropins. We'll start letrose or CC from second day of the cycle. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth day, we'll give letrose or CC. On 7th and 8th, 9th day, we'll give gonadotropins, either 75 or 150. And whenever the size of the follicle is 18 millimeter, we'll rupture the follicle with the help of SCG. If we see premature rupture of the follicles, we can combine this regime, that is letrose, gonadotropins with antagonist. 2 protocols for antagonist are there, fixed protocol and flexible protocol. In fixed protocol, we start antagonist from the 5th day of the cycle, whatever the size of the follicle is. Or in flexible protocol, we give the antagonist, we start the antagonist when the size of the follicle is 14 millimeter. So we give antagonist continuously, and at the time of 18 millimeter size of the follicle, we give SCG for the rupture of the follicle. So we see why we have to add GnRH antagonist or agonist, because sometimes we see premature rupture of the follicles. So adding GnRH agonist will prevent premature luteinization of the follicle. This is a new regime. We get the results without antagonist also, but it is better to give antagonist, because data says large data is available in the literature, which say that adding GnRH antagonist in IUI cycle with letrose, with gonadotropins, definitely going to improve the results of IUI. So whenever we are going to do IUI in unexplained infertility, we have to do at least 3 cycles. And if 3 cycles fail, then we have to go for IVF. So how do we do monitoring of the cycles? Tubal patency documentation should be there. I already told you at least 1 tube should be open. And we have to do serial transvaginal sonography to see the size of the follicle and the thickness of the endometrium. Either we should ask the patient to come on 2nd or 3rd day of the menstrual cycle, and we have to see anterior follicle count, and we have to do TVS to rule out any existing corpus luteum cyst from the previous cycle. If existing corpus luteum follicular cyst is there, we might cancel the cycle because results are definitely going to hamper. But I have seen the pregnancy happening in such type of cycle. So it is your wish, but the results are definitely going to be poor when the previous cycle corpus luteum presence is there. And we have to note that complete endometrial shedding should be there before starting the stimulation. And you should keep in mind, after seeing the AFC, what protocol you are going to follow. And on day 6, we see the follicular and endometrial thickness synchrony. Number of follicles should be 10 millimeter in size on 6th or 7th day. If more than 10 millimeter size follicle is more than 4, no addition of FSH or HMG is required, because patient might go in hyperstimulation if you are going to add gonadotropins. So if the size of the follicle is 10, or we see 10 millimeter size follicle more than 4 are there, you don't add gonadotropins. And if more than 10 millimeter size follicle are present, abandon the cycle, because patient might have triplet pregnancy or 4th pregnancy, or hyperstimulation will be there. On day 9 or 10th, we'll see the follicular size and endometrial thickness and synchrony of both. A note can be made to switch over to gonadotropins in the next cycle if we see follicular and endometrial synchrony is not there. sometimes the people do IUI without the use of gonadotropins, and they say that endometrium is not going properly. So if we see the follicles are growing, but endometrium is not up to the mark. We see the endometrium is developed up to 5 or 6. It is not crossing 6 millimeter. Minimum endometrial thickness should be 7 millimeter before going for IUI. So if we see synchrony in cases of in endometrial thickness and follicular size, we should add gonadotropins. So I think all people who are doing IUI, they are doing IUI with gonadotropins only. And injection SCG is given when the size of the follicles is 18 to 20 millimeter and dose is 5 to 10,000 IU. People give 5,000, but the results are definitely better in 10,000. And sometimes we see the follicles are not rupturing even in the 2-3 cycles. So we can give in 6500 recombinant SCG, we can always give. We have seen the better results with recombinant SCG. Documentation of ovulation does improve the pregnancy rates, and waiting for the ovulation to occur before IUI does improve the results. The aim of monitoring IUI cycle is to optimize the rate of success with minimum side effects. Spontaneous cycle protocol. Cervical factors, when we see the eggs are maturing very well and the size of the eggs is good, and the endometrium is also good, you can do IUI in a spontaneous cycle, or you can avoid using gonadotropins to cut the cost. So we have to monitor every 2nd or 3rd day or 5th day, and you give SCG when the size of the follicle is 18 to 20 millimeter, and insemination after 36 hours after SCG. And you do pregnancy test after 15 or 17 days or 2 weeks. So advantages, what are the advantages of IUI? Why we go for IUI in cases of infertility? Sometimes we see vaginal pH is not up to mark and cervical mucus hostility is there. So we are bypassing it because we are depositing sperm directly into the uterus. The sperms are not touching the cervix. So this is the advantage of IUI. We capacitate sperms by wash preparation. Sometimes we see there are defects in sperm. They are not able to capacitate themselves. Note one thing, very, very important. Sperm is not able to fertilize the egg unless and until it decapacitates itself. So deposition of a well-prepared sperm as close possible to the oocytes, because we are putting the semen inside the uterus near the ostia. So sperm is going near to the ovaries. Deposit sperm at the time of ovulation. It is non-invasive procedure, inexpensive, and antenatal and complications are not reported yet. Multiple pregnancies, sometimes disadvantage. If we stimulate the cycle for IUI, sometimes we have multiple pregnancy. So I already told you, if 2 follicles are maturing 18 to 20 millimeter size, you can go for IUI well. But if you see the number of follicles are more than 2, 3 or 4, and all are maturing 18 to 20, up to 18 to 20 millimeter, you can abandon the cycle to avoid multiple pregnancies. Infections, sometimes if you are not doing the things properly, patient may cause iatrogenic infertility. Sometimes we see if a patient goes for IUI, she feels or husband feels guilty that we are not doing the right thing, but we have to counsel beforehand before going for IUI. This is not again your religion. This is just your sperm. We are keeping the sperm inside the uterus. So this is like the normal pregnancies, and there is no difference between the child you have by IUI or natural pregnancy. So prevention of complication, definitely we have to prevent the ovarian hyperstimulation. We have to give the gonadotropins according to the report of the patient, and we can very well prevent the infection by taking lots of precautions. Semen collection should be sterile, non-toxic containers. Presence of media should be there, and viscous semen should always be collected with the media inside the container. This, I think I should not go into the detail. Selection of media, many kind of medias are available. We do IUI in your lab. We have the lab and we do IUI. So many kind of medias are there. Sperm treatment. Viscous sample, agar viscous sample hai, to we have to treat the sample before going for IUI. We can pass the sample many times with the syringe, so it will be diluted, or we can put the media into the sample and we keep it for 30 minutes. It will definitely liquefy. So we have to process IUI thing before not before liquefying the semen. And Normal semen characters, WHO criteria, volume should be 2 ml or more. pH should be 7.2 to 7.8. Sperm concentration 20 to 10 or more million. Motility 50% or more. Forward progression grade 3 or more. Morphology 30%, at least 30% of sperm should be normal. And number of WBC in the sperm should not be more than 10 million. And sperm terms, if you want to normospermia, normal ejaculate, I think you should escape. Preparations. What we do in IUI, rationale and advantage of semen preparation, removal of seminal plasma. We see seminal plasma is an important component of sperms, but if we put the semen plasma into the uterus, severe uterine contraction will be there, and all the inseminate will be coming out. So we have to remove the seminal plasma. Prostaglandin should not be there because it will also cause contractions, and proteins are reduced. Removal of decapitation factors. As I already told you, sperm has to capacitate itself before going to fertilize the egg. So in IUI, what we do, we remove the seminal plasma, we remove the decapacitation factors, removal of detrimental factors like dead cell and debris. Certain active substances are added which improve the motility of spermatozoa. That we do IUI, we remove seminal plasma, we remove the prostaglandins, and we remove decapacitation factors, and certain debris or we remove. Sperm preparation techniques. Most commonly used, swim up and density gradient method. This I am not going to detail because this is a lab. In our lab technician does all these things. But I have to tell you, swim up is very simple method. If the semen parameters are within normal limits, we can go for swim up technique. If the semen parameters are not good and the oligospermia, and if the semen is always full of pus or lot of debris is there, we have to go for density gradient method. This is the fundamental. But nowadays people say many data is available in the many doctors who are doing IUI, they find that density gradient method definitely is better than swim up method. I'm not going to in detail. Overlay method, I'll tell you in 2 words. Overlay method is very simple. When your lab technician is not available and you want to do IUI, if all the parameters of semen is normal, you can do overlay method yourself. 1 ml of semen sample is overlaid with 1 ml of culture media. Keep in incubator for 60 to 90 minutes at 37 degrees centigrade. During this time, the motile sperm migrate to culture media and aspirate out upper buffy layer for insemination. Very simple. ट्यूब को थोड़ा इंक्लाइन करके रखते हैं 60 to 90 minutes, 37 डिग्री इंक्यूबेटर में आप रखेंगे. इट इज ऑलरेडी गिविंग 37 डिग्री टेम्परेचर. केवल जितना सीमेन लेते हैं 1 ml सीमेन के ऊपर 1 ml आपको मीडिया डालना है. 37 डिग्री टेम्परेचर पे 60 to 90 मिनट्स उसको इंक्लाइन करके रख देना है. जो अपर लेयर होगी उसमें सारे स्पर्म स्विम करके आ जाएंगे. टेक आउट दिस upper layer and do the IUI. This very simple method. All can do. All of you can do. Number and timing of insemination. It is the subject of debate whether one should do 1 or 2 IUI insemination in an IUI cycle has continued to be subject of debate. 2 insemination can be done. The first, if we are going to do 2 insemination, first should be done to 12 to 24 hours after SCG injection, and second one 36 to 40 hours later. Once insemination has to perform, then it should be done after 24 to 36 hours. This is my old slide, but nowadays we say that if you are going to do one insemination, it should be after 32 hours of SCG injection. If TVS revealed that follicle is not ruptured, so repeat IUI. So what is the message? You can do 1 IUI or 2 IUI. If you are going to do 1 IUI, then you have to do 36 hours after SCG injection. Or if you are going to do 2 IUI, then you have wide choice. You can go first IUI after 24 hours and second IUI after 40 hours. This is a regime. And if follicle should be ruptured, ovulation documentation is necessary. If we see even after second IUI, ovulation has not occurred, we see if still follicle is there, we can do third IUI, or we can tell the patient that your follicle has not ruptured. The interval between semen wash and insemination. Semen processed within 30 minutes after collection resulted in a higher pregnancy rate. 48% then that process 30 to 60 minutes after collection. So we have to see these are very smaller things, but results are hampered very much, even with the smaller things. So as soon as the patient collects the semen, you can process the semen if the semen is liquefied. If the semen is viscous, we can wait for 30 minutes. But if the semen is already liquefied, you can start processing immediately, not after 30 minutes. IUI perform within 90 minutes of collection. हमें 30 minutes के बाद अगर हम process start कर देंगे तो within 90 minutes हमारा semen prepare हो जाएगा. So we have to be very meticulous in our IUI procedure. We have to perform IUI within 90 minutes of collection. It takes hardly 40-50 minutes. So you should start processing semen after 30 minutes. Insemination cannula, the ideal insemination cannula should be easy and non-toxic, disposable, soft or semi-rigid. And if you take hard cannula, this can be traumatic. And sometimes you see blood on the IUI cannula. In these cases, the results are definitely hampered and failure rates are high. Quality and quantity of inseminate according to Bradway et al. IUI used for treating male factor infertility has very less chance of success when the woman is older than 35 years. And the number of motile spermatozoa inseminate is less than 5 million. I already told you that if inseminate after washing the semen should be at least containing more than 5 million. If it is less than 5 million, you are not going to get the success. And normal morphology after washing the semen should be at least more than 30%. After sperm preparation, to get good results, sperm count should be more than 10 million. It should be more than 5, and if it is more than 10, that's very, very good. Insemination procedure. We have to ask the patient to come in a thoughtful position and well-lighted room. Here it is written empty bladder, but this is wrong. We should not empty the bladder. And slight Trendelenburg position should be there because we have to keep the lower part high. With the help of 1 ml syringe and the IUI catheter, 0.3 ml prepared suspension is drawn in the syringe. And speculum inserted and cervix visualized. The external os is cleaned and the sterile swab normal saline. And very, very important thing, we have to clean the cervical mucosa with the help of a bud, or you can use a plastic syringe and you can suck. Cervical mucus should be cleaned before going for IUI because many times it has been seen the sperms are entangled in the cervical mucosa, or it can give you the wrong pH. So before going for IUI, you should suck the mucosa, and well-lighted room should be there. Gently introduce the IUI cannula into the uterine cavity below the fundus. And when you are catching the cervix, you should not use, if possible, don't use anything. Valsalem to bilkul use nahi karna hai. If you are not comfortable without catching the cervix, you can use simple Ellis forceps, or you can use Cusco's speculum if the uterus is in a straight line. Sometimes you can do IUI with Cusco's speculum. If you are not comfortable with speculum, then you can use Ellis forceps for catching the cervix. So you release the sperms, you release the inseminate very, very slowly over a period of 5 minutes, but your cannula should not touch fundus, because whenever it touches the fundus, severe uterine contraction will start and all the seminate will come out. Many times you must be seeing my friends who are doing IUI, sometimes seminates come out, but you don't worry. If you are not touched the fundus, then don't worry. Even a small part goes inside, it goes through the tubes, it is sufficient to make the patient pregnant. So remove the cannula gently, let the patient rest for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Sometimes the patient psychology is always there. They say we'll wait for 1 hour or 2 hours. Sometimes they want admission, but we don't admit the patient. There is no need for the admission because it takes only 20 or 30 minutes to reach at the destination. The procedure has to be done very, very gently. In difficult cases, it is better to do under sonographic guidance. And I'm going to tell you when the difficult situation arises. Many times we see we are not able to negotiate the internal loss in cases of IUI, when the uterus is acutely introverted or acutely retroverted. So filling the bladder always have to correct the anteversion. So it comes in a straight line. So always ask the patient to come full bladder, and the cervix may be held in gentle traction given metal cannula, as I already told you. And sometimes you can dilate the cervix with the help of a thin dilator, but dilatation should be avoided because the results are going to be definitely decreased. With the stenocervix, a soft thin catheter may be tried, or sonographic. Best thing is that you use the similar cannula and you put a machine. You must all must be having the machine. Abdomen पे आप abdomen probe लगाइए. You see the direction of the internal noise and go up to the direction of internal noise. It is definitely going to help. I do in my practice. Rarely dilatation can be done gently, and even adopting all the measures, you are not going to you're not able to cross the internal noise. You can definitely tell the patient, this time I think this is not going to be success. And when the patient has next period, at the time of the period, you can always dilate the cervix for the next cycle IUI. Post-insemination instruction, there is not much that a woman can do to improve her chances of pregnancy. She can take her rest. IUI, after IUI 20 minutes, she can go home. She can get back to her normal work. Sometimes they say, नहीं हम नहीं काम करेंगे because हमारा निकल जाएगा. तो उनको you have to counsel them, because once the semen reaches the tubes, remaining of the semen is not required. If it is come out, there is no problem. Luteal support has to be given. Luteal support is controversial. If you see the endometrial thickness is not good, you have to definitely, I do in my practice, I think everybody gives luteal support. There is no harm in giving luteal support. And pregnancy test to be done after 14 or 15 days. So this is laboratory success of IUI. Wide range of variation is there. In data says it is only 10 to 30% success in different indications. And whenever we are factors affecting success, couple age, duration of infertility, cause of infertility. If the age is less than 30 years, definitely we are going to good results. If it is age is more than 35 years, definitely her ovarian reserve is going to affect. So we are not getting good results when the age of the wife is more than 35 years. Semen processing technique, as I already told you, recently this has been taught that density gradient method is definitely superior than the swim method. And protocol is very, very important, very, very important. If you are using gonadotropins with CC or letrozole, definitely results are going to be better. And if you see your follicle is not going to up to 18 to 20 millimeter, it is rupturing before, even after 15 millimeter, you definitely going to use antagonist. Antagonist is very, very useful in IU cycles, and many of the centers are recently, I am also using antagonist cycle. It is little bit costly, but when you counsel the patient that results are better when you use antagonist, the patients are ready. Timing of insemination is very, very important. Natural cycle versus control ovarian stimulation cycle. Definitely results are better when you stimulate the cycles. Large data is available that chances of IUI success is more when you do stimulation than if you compare with the natural cycles. And where IUI is done, ideally in a clinic with IVF facility, all service under one roof. And because whenever give gonadotropins, there might be patient might go in hyperstimulation. So you can convert this IUI cycle into IVF cycle, and we can pick up the eggs. And catheter should be of good quality. It should be soft catheter, and definitely difficult IUI should be done in ultrasound vision, and it can be used without the anesthesia. Donor insemination when the husband is azoospermic, you should use donor insemination. And birth rates per cycle IUI performed, 15% for women under the age of 30, 12% for women ages 30-35, 7 to 8% for women ages 35 to 39, less than 2% when over the age of 40. So age matters a lot, because this is the matter of ovarian reserve. And I want to tell you 2 lines about donor semen. If you are going to do donor semen, if you are going to do IUI with the husband semen, there are choice. You should do 1 or 2 IUI. You have to decide whether you want to go for 1 IUI, 2 IUI. I do 1 IUI when the husband semen is up to the mark. It's not bad. We are going to do IUI with for unexplained infertility. I would like to go for 1 IUI. If you are going to do donor insemination, then you have to have 2 inseminations definitely. One after 12 to 24 hours after SCG injection, and second 30 to 40 hours after NCG injection. While many gynecologists offer IUI office procedure, many of them are not specialized. So this means that patient need to run from gynecologist to ultrasound center, scan to lab. So I should say that whenever you are going to have IUI in your premises, you should also have ultrasound machine. So all the things should be in one premises. Patient need not to run from here and there. And Ideal Clinic is that which offers all the services under one roof. IUI helps many couples experience pregnancy, childbirth, and the joy of raising children. However, to achieve triumph in this to success zone, great attention is to be paid to all the aspect of procedure. The difference between failure and success is doing a thing nearly right and doing the things exactly right. Thank you so much for the patient hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Latika. You have told us so many important points in IUI, but I want to ask just one question, that
Yeah.
we should do IUI even before the follicle ruptures. We are usually doing, after seeing that the follicle has ruptured, then we are offering IUI. Otherwise, we are not doing.
You can do IUI minimum 24 hours after SCG infection, before rupture also. Because you see, the life of the sperm is 72 hours.
That we know. That we know that the life of sperm is 24
Dr.
hours.
Pragati, one thing is there, na, you can't predict the time of ovulation exactly.
Yeah.
That is important
We can go for LH
ovum-
kit testing,
yes,
LH kit
ovum-
testing. If you see
even
LH
then-
surge is there, you predict ovulation will occur after 24
Yes,
hours of LH
but
surge. So you can
even
predict.
you cannot predict exactly. So
Yeah.
because lifespan of ovum is only 12 hours.
12 to 24 hours.
Yes, usually we say between 12 to 24 hours. So it's better to do.
If you are going to do 2 IUIs, then you can do before rupture also. If you
Yes.
are going to do 1 IUI, then we have to documentation the rupture.
Yes.
Okay.
First thing
Because
is
2
this.
IUIs definitely it is going to cover.
What
But
I am
in
doing.
1 IUI,
yes.
it is should be 36 hours and documentation ovulation should be there.
Yes.
Just
Even
in your talk, you said if we are doing only one IUI, that is also done after 36 hours of.
Yeah. And you
Yes.
have to documentation ovulation. You see by ultrasound machine whether the
Pragati,
within
others
12
are
hours of
waiting.
IUI, अगर आपका 12 घंटे में रप्चर हो गया IUI के बाद ओवुलेशन हो गया तो that is okay. That is
Yes,
okay
yes.
because ovum की एज है 12 to 24
वो
hours.
तो ठीक है, मतलब हम लोग पहले IUI करें या पहले देख लें कि
नहीं प्रगति
ना,
सुनो
ना, पहले IUI कर दो.
प्रगति
पहले IUI कर दो.
प्रगति सिंपल इज दैट कि वंस यू गिव एससीजी उसके आप 24 घंटे से 36 घंटे में एक बार आईयूआई कर दो. नेक्स्ट टाइम इफ यू वांट टू डू सेकंड आईयूआई यू हैव टू सी इन अल्ट्रासाउंड वेदर ऑलरेडी इज रप्चर्ड और नॉट. If it is ruptured, you can wait.
If you have done 1 IUI and ovulation has not occurred, after
Okay.
IUI, you see the ovulation, if 12 to 24 hours after ovulation, after IUI, ovulation has occurred, then it's okay. Otherwise, you have to repeat IUI. Because आपका 24 घंटे से ज्यादा निकल गया तो सब बेकार हो गया. आपका अगर आपका ओवुलेशन 24 घंटे बाद हुआ और आपने IUI पहले कर दिया तो ये बेकार हो गया आपका.
हाँ तो पेशेंट कहेगा कि पैसे मेरे खर्च हो गए.
नहीं ये तो तुम्हें काउंसल करना है पहले ही प्रगति.
Okay, now I invite Dr. Karuna.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. Dr. Karuna, she has done her MBBS MD from KGMC, and she has special interest in fetal medicine and cosmetic gynecology. She talk on the role of platelet-rich plasma and stem cell therapy in aesthetic gynecology.
Good evening, seniors and colleagues. Today I am having a presentation over the role of platelet-rich plasma and stem cell in aesthetic gynecology. Does it works in gynecology? Yes, it works in gynecology. The history of platelet-rich plasma has been investigated since early 1990s, and it's not new. Use of autologous PRP was first used in 1987 by Ferrari et al. For the musculoskeletal injuries, and it has the potential not only to improve the hemostasis but also have the role in the biological effect on wound healing. The background is that the platelets are living cells but terminal cytoplasmic portions of marrow megakaryocytes. They have no nucleus but have alpha granules which release growth factors, hence its role in coagulation and tissue healing. The platelet-rich plasma, normally the count of the platelets in our body is 1.5 to 3 lakhs per microliter. But in platelet-rich plasma, it is around 2 million per microliter. To be considered it as PRP, it must be 4 times or greater than the baseline levels, and increasing the concentration of the bioactive proteins act as a catalyst for accelerating the wound healing process. In the platelet-rich plasma, the composition is actually the 38 multiple growth factors released by the platelets, like platelet-derived growth factors, vascular endothelial growth factors, transforming growth factor B, and keratinocyte growth factors, epithelial growth factors, and fibrinogen growth factors. The isolation of the platelet-rich plasma can be done. It is an earlier the technique was very difficult because of the equipment size, cost, need for perfectionists, and the large volume of the blood which was required. At present, the new technique is easy with the help of the automated machines available. For example, the automated dual spin process machine Harvest SmartPrep 2. This is the schematic representation. Here, the 20 to 60 cc of the blood is withdrawn of the patient and placed in a tube containing citrate phosphate dextrose as an anticoagulant. And then it is spinned in the automated multi-biologic platform system. And after this spinning process, the automated PRP sample is prepared. The PRP preparation is the recommended temperature during this processing is 21 to 24 degrees centigrade, which is being produced in the automated container. 21 to 24 degrees centigrade to prevent the platelet activation during centrifugation of blood. Otherwise, the growth factors will be released beforehand. The blood is centrifuged at the 1200 revolution per minute at 12 minutes. The blood separates into 3 layers: an upper layer of platelets, WBCs, and an intermediate thin layer, a buffy coat which is rich in WBCs, and a bottom layer which contains red blood cells. The upper and intermediate buffy layers are transferred into to an empty sterile tube. The plasma is centrifuged again at 3300 revolution per minute for 7 minutes to help in formation of soft pellet. The soft pellets are rich in erythrocytes and platelets at the bottom of the tube. The upper 2/3 portion of the plasma is discarded, and this volume is actually platelet poor plasma. Pellets are homogenized in the lower 1/3 with the lower 1/3 of the plasma to create the platelet-rich plasma. Hence, the process of PRP is collection of blood, then separation of platelets, extraction of the platelet-rich plasma, and then returning it to the patient. Harvesting, separation, activation, and returning. Nearly each 30 ml of the venous blood which is withdrawn from the patient yields 3 to 5 ml of PRP. For injecting the PRP to the patient, first the affected area is disinfected, and assurance and discussion with the patient makes the injection easier and less painful. PRP stimulates the series of biological responses, and the injection site may get swollen and painful for the next 3 to 4 days. After the centrifugation, 4 types of the platelet-rich plasmas can be obtained. These 4 types are pure platelet-rich plasma, leukocyte and platelet-rich plasma, pure platelet-rich fibrin, leukocyte and platelet-rich fibrin. These are according to the concentration of leukocytes and the fibrin density. As the fibrin density increases, it is known as pure platelet-rich fibrin and leukocyte and platelet-rich fibrin. PRP activation is obtained by the variety of growth factors, releasing of the variety of growth factors by means of calcium chloride, thrombin, or collagen. Thrombin and collagen are available in the plasma itself. The mechanism of action is not exactly clear, but the various laboratory studies have shown that the increased concentration of the growth factors in PRP can potentially speed up this healing process. The application in obstetrics and gynecology is in multiple aspects like surgical outcomes. The platelet-rich plasma has been used in the post-operative pain management of the gynecological surgical patients in early post-op period. And vulvar and cervical lesions, for example, in cervical ectopy, in vulval lesions like vulval lichen sclerosis or vulval atrophy, and in urogynecology patients of genital prolapse or vesicovaginal fistula, and in reproductive medicine, it has its role in endometrial in patients with thin endometrium. In aesthetic gynecology, we are going to discuss in further. In obstetrics, only few studies have been reported in premature rupture of membrane as a sealant effect of the platelet-rich plasma and platelet-rich fibrin. Implication in aesthetic gynecology. There are many studies being introduced, but all are pilot studies. Very small sample size and animal models are available. Platelet-rich plasma plus adipose tissue are given for breast reconstruction and augmentation mammoplasty, also being done by the plastic surgeons. And aesthetic gynecologists like us are using this property of platelets to release growth factors as promotion of tissue regrowth, healing, regeneration in many aspects, including vaginal rejuvenation, vulval rejuvenation, and shoot therapy. It is used in the regeneration of vaginal mucosa, muscles, and skin. After PRP injection, vaginal vascularity is increased with subsequent dramatic increase in the sensitivity. Skin becomes thicker and firmer, making vagina looks much more youthful. Ligaments and muscles supporting urethra becomes more stronger, alleviating the urinary incontinence. This is a study done in 2016 by Fabria Bahamia Williams, and it was done in the Australia, where they have used the platelet-rich plasma for vulvovaginal autoimmune conditions like lichen sclerosis. The number of patients enrolled were only 10. Well, actually, the studies have been small because of the enrollment of the patients. And this study was done in is published in the Journal of Menopausal Medicine in 2017, where the rejuvenation using the platelet-rich plasma and lipofilling for the vaginal atrophy and lichen sclerosis. Revolutionary new non-surgical office treatment that helps improve both urinary incontinence and sexual dysfunction through using women's own growth factor is being done by the platelet-rich plasma. It is injected into specific areas of the vagina with the aid of local anesthetic cream. This modality of treatment is known as shot therapy, and PRPs immediately activate tissue regeneration and enhancement in the sexual response is dramatic. Desired response include improved arousal, stronger orgasm, decreased dyspareunia, and increased natural lubrication. The injection sites this is the ventral aspect of the clitoris, and this is the anterolateral wall of the vagina. Hence, the platelet-rich plasma is used for the sexual wellness for women, especially the women having the urogenital atrophies in the perimenopausal period and postmenopausal period, where rejuvenation with no surgery or hormones can discover the benefits of PRP, like increased sexual arousal and desire, greater lubrication, smoother and tighter genital muscles, eliminating the painful coitus, and experience stronger orgasm. There has been this is the pilot study of the effect of localized injection of autologous platelet-rich plasma for the treatment of female sexual dysfunction. This was done in 2014, and this is a study in 2012 showing the role of platelet-rich fibrin in the vaginal prolapse repair. In this study, they enrolled 12 patients, 10 to 12 patients, and along with the surgical aspects like anterior raphe, posterior perineophraphy, and apical repair, they also used the platelet-rich fibrin, and follow-up was done at 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and 24 months. And they reported the success rate of 80%. And the prolapse symptoms were improved by 100%. Sexual activity increased by 20% without dyspareunia, and surgical time was also satisfactory, about 38.5 minutes. And there was no intraoperative or postoperative complications pertaining to the platelet-rich fibrin being inserted. Similarly, in 2016, the restoration of the pubourethral ligament with platelet-rich plasma for the treatment of stress urinary incontinence was also done, and they also showed the promising results. Touching the stem cell therapy in the aesthetic gynecology, the stem cells we can obtain. This is the slide showing the human developmental continuum, and we can harvest the stem cells in the embryonic stage, 5 to 7 day embryo. At 4 to 6 week stage, embryonic germ cells, where primordial germ cells are obtained having the pluripotent capacity. Fetal tissue stem cells, these we are obtaining through the umbilical cord stem cells. And from the infant and adult, other stem cells are also obtained, which are pluripotent or multipotent. The embryonal, the risk pertaining to the stem cell therapy because of embryonal germ cells, embryonal stem cells, are the risk of development of development of teratocarcinoma, a germ cell tumor. In the stem cell therapy, we are using the mesenchymal stem cells. Mesenchymal stem cells are mesodermal in origin, and they have the capacity to differentiate into bone, cartilage, muscle, and fat. And from the adults, we can obtain these. The best characterized mesenchymal stem cells is obtained from the bone marrow, and their clinical utility is already explained and as isolated in the form of donor site. It is actually difficult to isolate because of the donor site morbidity and the low yield, because adipose tissue is mixed with them. In Zalk and colleagues had identified a similar cell type with a greater ease of harvesting and higher yield in mature adipose tissue, which also possess multi-lineage potential. These are the mesenchymal stem cells obtained from the adipose tissue, which are termed as adipose-derived stromal cells, along with stromal vascular fraction. These are highly heterogeneous, and actually they contain an array of multiple cells like endothelial cells, pericyte, fibroblast, leukocytes, hematopoietic stem cells, and endothelial progenitor cells. Most notable area of aesthetic surgery where these adipose-derived stromal cells are being applicable are autologous fat grafting. For autologous fat grafting has become popular for soft tissue augmentation throughout the entire body, and similarly, it has been used in aesthetic gynecology for lipofilling of vulval area in the postmenopausal females. This is a study published in the ACOG, where the novel technique of vulvovaginal rejuvenation by lipofilling and injection of combined PRP and hyaluronic acid has been reported, and they have also reported the success rate of 80%. The take-home message is the PRP and stem cells both are innovative therapeutic modality, both cheap, simple, easily commenced, and safe and effective. Cosmopolitan use in medicine has proved its effectiveness. In gynecology, studies are few, pilot or case studies or case reports. Large RCTs are to be required. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karuna. Your topic was very, very interesting. Now we are all are knowing that this can be done for the vulvovaginal rejuvenation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I invite Dr. Shaila may give her talk. Her topic is first trimester screening.
So first of all, thank you and lots of gratitudes. I'm feeling a bit nervous. थोड़ी सी ये नेटवर्क का इशू था और थोड़ा सीनियर्स बहुत ज़्यादा हैं सामने. So thank you. पसीना आ रहा है, स्टूडेंट जैसी फीलिंग आ रही है. So that being said, so first trimester screening, actually why I chose this topic is that lot of controversies regarding what to do, when to do, how to counsel are there. So let's run through the topic. Why screening? Because aneuploidy, that is the commonest thing we are screening in first trimester. It accounts for more than 50% of first trimester abortions, more than 20% second trimester losses, 6 to 8% stillbirths, 6 to 7% of early neonatal deaths. Now that's a very strong data which compels us to offer screening to all our patients. Now further, 2 to 4% of the neonates are born with crippling congenital defects. So structural malformations are also to be screened. So we have to optimize our antenatal outcomes. That is why screening. Now, second question is what to screen. We already know structural defects like cardiac anomalies, neural tube defects are the commonest. Chromosomal defects, we are looking for number anomalies, abnormalities. Sometimes chromosomes, genes are missing. Then comes the gene defects, missing extra duplication, inversion or translocation, and metabolic defects. Now, latter two are beyond the scope of discussion of today's presentation. So let's talk of structural defects. Commonest, as we know, is cardiac malformation and neural tube defects. So first thing is, should we always look for that? It is better. Yes, we should, because ultrasound is the basic modality we can offer to our patients. And as we all know, anencephaly can be picked up in very early time of first trimester. It can be picked up as early as 10 weeks. So answer is yes. Second is, looking for other soft markers like nasal bone, tricuspid regurgitation, ductus venosus, if not associated with the aneuploidies, but they are associated with poor fetal-maternal outcome in later gestations like fetal growth restriction, preeclampsia. So yes, we should look for them, although routine screening and routine offering is questionable. Second is aneuploidies chromosomes. So chromosomal defects, there are 4 in 1000 birth, and latest ACOG 2020 practice bulletin says that all chromosomal defects are to the tune of 1 in 150, so quite common. So we are looking for aneuploidies, which is actually numerical change in part of chromosome, as against polyploidy, which is numerical change in whole set of chromosomes. So aneuploidies, while we are looking for autosomal aneuploidies and sex chromosomal aneuploidies, polyploidy we all know is associated with partial mode. The interesting part is aneuploidies, when they are coming, we are talking of autosomes, they are maternal age dependent, but sex chromosome aneuploidies and polyploidies are actually not maternal age dependent. So genetics, yes, we can look, but that is more of a part of diagnostic testing. So we are looking for aneuploidies, that is numerical defects. So when we talk of first trimester screening, it essentially includes that we want to find for chromosomal numerical aneuploidy mismatches or defects. Out of that, commonest is Downs. It comprises of 50% of the cases. Trisomy 18 counts for 15% and trisomy 13 for 5%. Sex chromosome defects are to the order of 11 to 12% cases only. So second question is, like third question is how to screen. So for a screening modality, we have analyte based, which is known as conventional screening, and it is a bit different from traditional screening, which we used to follow earlier. Second is newer modality, that is cell-free DNA, fetal DNA. Now, my question before we go further is, what is actually first trimester aneuploidy screening? Options are free beta HCG and PAPA. Second is HCG, PAPA, NB, and NT. Third is HCG, PAPA, NB, NT, maternal age. And fourth is HCG, PAPA, NT, and age. So anybody?
That depends on the gestational age, no?
Yes, ma'am. First trimester screening.
Option 3. Dr. Shaila, I will go with option 3.
Option 3.
Okay.
Everything they should look for.
Actually, it is HCG, PAPA, NT, and age. That is the standard first trimester screening. And as I said earlier, NB can be included owing to different things. Now, NB के लिए एक अलग से class होती है पूरा, lot many things involved in NB screening. So analyte based screening, a few things which we all should know, and I would request for a very patient listening to this because हमारी भी बहुत मुश्किल से समझ में आता है शुरू में. First is we are screening. So this screening test, whatever test we are using, should be sensitive, and sensitivity is the number of aneuploid fetus that are identified by the test. Second is false negative. False negative is number of cases that are missed. So जितनी sensitivity किसी screening test की बढ़ेगी, उतना false negative rate उसका कम हो जाएगा. So we want a very good sensitivity wala test, screening test for our patients. Third thing is false positive. It means these are the pregnancies which are actually unaffected, but labeled as positive somehow by our screening modality. Now, interesting part is कि जितनी भी screening test जो traditional और analyte based test हैं, इनकी ये false positive rate is constant, that is 5%. So maximum जो हम इसका वो कर सकते हैं, वो 5% को exclude करके कर सकते हैं. तो 94-95% इनकी sensitivity हो गई. तो मेरी आपसे गुजारिश है कि इस वर्ड को, that is constant 5% को याद रखें. This is important. एंड फाइनल थिंग इज पॉजिटिव प्रेडिक्टिव वैल्यू. हम अपने पेशेंट्स को जब भी कोई स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट बताते हैं तो हम बताते हैं कि आपके चांसेस 1 in 10 है, 1 in 50 है, 1 in 10,000 है, 1 in 10 lakhs है. सो दिस इज हाउ एक्चुअली आफ्टर मॉडिफिकेशन एंड कैलकुलेटिंग लाइकलीहुड रेशियोज वी टेल आवर पेशेंट्स कि आपका ये पॉजिटिव प्रेडिक्टिव वैल्यू है. सो age, NT, HCG and PAPA A, let's discuss one by one. Maternal age, it's actually a soft marker, and aneuploidy rate is directly proportional to advanced maternal age. Maternal age can alone predict 30% of the cases of Down syndrome. And now this interesting graph, age, maternal age. So when we look at this, वी वांट टू सी कि 35 की एज पे टर्म पे कितना रिस्क है उस पेशेंट का और मिड ट्राइमेस्टर में कितना है। तो जिस पेशेंट का हम फर्स्ट ट्राइमेस्टर स्क्रीन कर रहे हैं और उसका रिस्क हाई है तो उसका एक्चुअली बहुत ज़्यादा हाई रिस्क है। सो इट इंक्रीजेस एक्सपोनेंशियली विद इंक्रीजिंग एज। नाउ एज का भी एक इंटरेस्टिंग पैटर्न है। लेस देन 35 एज पे जो हम डिटेक्ट कर रहे हैं वो एक्चुअली लो कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि ये बैकग्राउंड रिस्क है, ए प्रायोरी रिस्क है, नॉन मॉडिफाइबल रिस्क फॉर स्क्रीनिंग है। तो ये जो बैकग्राउंड रेट हुआ यहाँ पे, एज अगर हमने 35 से कम, फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पेशेंट्स टू द ट्यून ऑफ 30% ऑफ प्रेग्नेंट पॉपुलेशन इन इंडिया, दे आर इन द एज ग्रुप ऑफ 20 to 30। तो वो 30% लोग का तो बैकग्राउंड रिस्क वैसे ही हम एज को लेके कम कर दे रहे हैं। तो उन लोगों में हम एन्यूप्लॉइडी कम डिटेक्ट कर रहे हैं, लगभग 10% की कम हम उन लोगों में एन्यूप्लॉइडीज कम डिटेक्ट करते हैं। नाउ कमिंग टू एडवांस मैटरनल एज, वहाँ पे हमारा बैकग्राउंड रिस्क ही इतना हाई है कि अगर उनमें वैसे कोई नहीं होना होगा, बट हम उनका फॉल्स पॉजिटिव रेट ज़्यादा डिटेक्ट कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि उनका बैकग्राउंड जो फिक्स्ड एज रिलेटेड रिस्क है वो ज़्यादा है। Second is nuchal translucency. It is maximum thickness of subcutaneous translucent area between skin and soft tissue overlying the fetal spine at the back of neck. It is done at 11 to 14 weeks. So we have to keep this thing in mind, that it is actually not an abnormality, but marker of increased risk. इसकी डिफरेंशियल डायग्नोसिस होती है सिस्टिक हाइग्रोमा. सो इवन इफ वी आर गेटिंग सिस्टिक हाइग्रोमा बाय स्क्रीनिंग मेथोडोलॉजी इन फर्स्ट अल्ट्रासाउंड, फर्स्ट ट्राइमेस्टर अल्ट्रासाउंड, then also we are at gain, because we know that cystic hygroma has 5-fold increased risk for aneuploidy. So anyhow, first trimester ultrasound looking for NT should be done. Now increased NT is associated with aneuploidy, we all know, but it is associated with fetal cardiac abnormalities also. Any absolute value of more than 3 millimeter at gestational age between 11 to 14 weeks or 99 percentile से ज़्यादा isolated independent marker होता है for aneuploidy risk. So किसी time पे 11 to 14 weeks पे if the reading is more than 3 mm, it is high risk. And if gestational age dependent marker or measurement is more than 99 percentile, it is also at high risk. Now, risk increases with degree of thickness, so we have to be very accurate while we are measuring NT. So if elevated, what can we do? We have many options. We can offer a target scan, TIFA, fetal echo, genetic counseling, and cell-free DNA as secondary screening. Now, using NT alone, 2/3 of the Downs cases can be detected. It is used as a marker for twin pregnancy aneuploidy screening, but nowadays we have calibrated graphs for analytes screening too. So coming to third part, that is serum analytes. Free beta HCG is used, which we all know is elevated in Downs and lower in IGFT. Papa A is lower in Downs, lower in preterm, FGR, preeclampsia, and intrauterine death. So close surveillance is required if we find isolated Papa A lower levels. Trisomy 18 and 13, both are lower, like both the serum analytes are in lower concentration in these two conditions. Levels are converted into multiples of medians. Higher the multiples of median, more the risk, but never in isolation. So in isolation, the sensitivity and positive predictive value is too low to confer a high risk category to such patients. I'll give one example. For example, we have calculated, analyzed Papa A of any patient. Median for population at 12 weeks, suppose हमने 12 weeks भी किया, and it is 30. Patient का है 60. So how we calculate MOM for this? Result of patient divided by the median of the population. In this case, it will be 60 by 30, that is 2. So the result is 2 times higher than normal. But we have to modify this using all the 3 things that we have just discussed. So now we will give a combined testing or screening result, not in isolation. So result of serum analytes, that is free beta HCG and Papa. Gestational age specific nuchal translucency. We will calculate composite likelihood ratio, and then we will use this to modify the background or a priori risk of maternal age. That is how we give the result. So for example, in this patient, we can see that free beta HCG is 2.5 multiple of median, which is isolated elevated marker. And we also know that age at term of this patient will be 35.9. So my question is, अब हम इसका क्या करेंगे, इसको पॉजिटिव, लो रिस्क, हाई रिस्क क्या रिजल्ट देंगे बेस्ड ऑन दीज टू थिंग्स? एनटी ठीक है, 1.4 है 12 वीक्स 2 डेज पे.
High risk for aneuploidy.
So we will give her a high risk result and offer her diagnostic testing, या फिर इसको follow up में रखेंगे?
High risk.
ओके, सो इसका कंबाइंड जो है वो लो रिस्क ही आएगा, क्योंकि हमने इसको इन फैक्टर्स को यूज करके उसके एज फैक्टर को मॉडिफाई करके ही रिस्क देना है. इन आइसोलेशन हमें कोई रिस्क नहीं देना है. बट येस, एज आई सेड अर्लियर, फ्री बीटा एससीजी अगर हायर है तो डाउन्स के लिए मतलब इट इज अ बिग रिस्क फैक्टर. एंड एज एट टर्म एट 35.9 यानी कि मोर देन 35, तो अकॉर्डिंग टू लेटेस्ट ACOG प्रैक्टिस बुलेटिन शी कैन बी ऑफर्ड एन NIPT. सो दैट इज द पॉइंट जो भी चेंज हुआ है कि इसको अगर हम NIPT ऑफर करेंगे तो हम गलत नहीं है, वी शुड ऑफर रादर. सो व्हाट इज NIPT? Cell-free DNA we can do from 9 weeks till term. Better is we start doing it from 10 weeks. Results are available as early as 1 week depending on the labs. So these are trophoblastic cells. A minimum of 3 to 4% proportion from the maternal blood is required. Normally circulating levels are 3 to 13%. So now the level depends on maternal weight, number of fetus, gestational age, medicine intake, race, etc. The important point in this is कि इसमें सिर्फ एक मोजाइसिज्म का प्रॉब्लम रहता है. मोजाइक सेल्स हैं, हमने नॉर्मल वाली सेल्स को पिक करके मैसिव पैरेलल सीक्वेंसिंग कर ली, या फिर प्रोपोर्शन ही इतना कम था कि हम कर ही नहीं पाए और हमने मैटरनल DNA को एनालाइज कर लिया. सो दीज आर टू थिंग्स. अगेन दोज लैब्स आर वर्किंग ऑन इट एंड दे हैव ऑलमोस्ट डन अवे विद दीज टू प्रॉब्लम्स. So 3 types of assays are done. So depending on that, now I requested everyone to remember sensitivity and positive predictive value. We can see NIPT की sensitivity 99% की ट्यून पे है डाउन्स पे, क्योंकि हमें डाउन्स कॉमनेस्ट है उसी को स्क्रीन करना है. और स्पेसिफिसिटी 99.9% है तीनों के लिए, तीनों टाइप की ट्राइसोमीज के लिए. So by this we have reduced false positive rate to the level of 1 to 0.1%. और वहां पे हमारा फॉल्स पॉजिटिव रेट 5% था, जो हम किसी भी स्क्रीनिंग मेथोडोलॉजी से कम नहीं कर पा रहे थे. तो ये इसका एक गेन या एडवांटेज है ओवर द ट्रेडिशनल और सीरम बेस्ड टेस्टिंग. So recommendations are for NIPT, and these recommendations have been released in practice bulletin number 226 by ACOG November 2020 में ही आया, 30 नवंबर में. So any woman who is more than 35 years at the time of delivery, not at the time of testing. Second is a positive first or second trimester screen result, aneuploidy marker on sonogram, having history of aneuploidy, or she's carrier of balanced translocation between 21 or 13. She can be offered an NIPT directly as a primary screening test. So when we are seeing our results for NIPT, sometimes we do get no call test result. Now what is that? Its ka matlab hai result was uninterpretable. But it does not mean that the patient had low risk. Rather, जिनका ये होता है उनका aneuploidy risk higher होता है to the level of 20-fold higher risk of having aneuploidies. So after screening कर ली हमने, या तो NIPT किया या एनालाइट बेस्ड किया, अब क्या? So भाई ने बोला करने का मतलब करने का वाला सिचुएशन नहीं है. We should know कि when we have found out something, what should be done after that. So in a setting where screen positive result is there, we can follow 2 protocols, that is sequential contingent protocol or sequential stepwise protocol, whatever school of thought you're following. Genetic counseling and counselor should be available. There are so many things which a obstetrician cannot generally counsel. Second is detailed ultrasound should be offered and diagnostic testing should be discussed with the patient. But these screening positive results should not be used as the sole basis for making decisions like termination of pregnancy. Now, in case of a screen negative result, do we find ourselves in a more relaxed chair? No. We have to talk about residual risk, क्योंकि हमने कुछ cases miss किए होंगे and that is by default. So they should also be followed up, and at least detailed anomaly scan should always be done and offered. Now, ACOG practice bulletin, which I was talking of, says that screening should be offered to all irrespective of age or background risk, and she should be informed about all types of screening and diagnostic tests, and we have to provide balanced information. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप प्रेग्नेंट हुए हो और आपको बच्चे को तो डाउन्स है ही है, हमें चेक करने दो, वो वाला सीन नहीं क्रिएट करना है. And information regarding serum analytes and NIPT should be provided to the patient. Patient should not say कि आपने हमें NIPT क्यों नहीं बताया था, और हम कहेंगे अरे वो बहुत महंगा होता है इसलिए हमने डिस्कस नहीं किया था. So no, it should not be done. So let's skip the questions because time is late. So take to clinic message. Guidelines कहती हैं pre-screen and post-screen counseling is must and must. Patient has choice to opt for any kind of screening or not to opt for screening. Monetary reasons can never be cited for not offering any type of test, and NT alone can be used for USG-based screening, but not serum analytes. And maternal age is a priori risk, which is modified by NT analytes, gestational age, race, etc. So thank you so much and a very happy new year. That was lovely.
Thank you, Dr. Shaila. You have given very wonderful talk. Now, Dr. Neera Agarwal has rang me that she is busy in LSCS. She will not be able to join further. And time is already over. Now, I want to thank all of you, especially Dr. Latika, Dr. Shaila, and Dr. Karuna for giving such a nice talk. And also to the Jackson Paul people for giving us this opportunity. Without them, this talk was not possible.
With your permission, ma'am, can we play the video?
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, with your permission, our sales team with us, Mr. Pushkar Singh from the Pharma division, and then we have from Nari division, Mr. Mohan Bisht. So they are here with their teams throughout. They have been with us, and if you will permit, they will just speak about their products. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Very good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, we want to discuss about our Lycoret Preg sachet, that is our L-arginine lycopene with DHA combination, ma'am. Ma'am, it is Lycoret Preg used for oligohydromanase, IUGR, and preeclampsia, ma'am. Ma'am, so many this salt, but most of company are providing proanthocyanidin. We are providing lycopene, which is the best antioxidant. Apart from this, ma'am, proanthocyanidin, these are the findings that proanthocyanidin hampers the metabolism of L-arginine, thus inhibits the production of nitric oxide. As well as, ma'am, proanthocyanidin has antithrombotic effect also. तो डिलीवरी के टाइम पर मैम ज़्यादातर जो है ऑपरेटिव केस आजकल हो रहे हैं, तो उसमें ब्लीडिंग के भी ज़्यादा चांस रहते हैं. And we are providing lycopene, which is the best antioxidant. It is available in delicious orange flavor, and ma'am, taken from best source also. As well as, ma'am, it is sugar free also, so safe in diabetic patient also. So sincerely requesting for Lycoret Preg sachet. As well as we have one more brand, that is our Doxypal DRL. that is our doxycycline with lactic acid vacillus combination, ma'am. Ma'am, DRL का means ही है, इसमें हमने दिया हुआ है delayed release. So many companies providing in powder form, we are providing in granules form. Therefore, it releases in duodenum. Therefore, मैम इसमें जो है गैस्ट्रिक इरिटेशन की प्रॉब्लम्स भी कम रहती हैं और बाकी इसको कोविड-19 में भी गवर्नमेंट ने अभी रिकमेंड किया हुआ है. So especially in case of PID, UTI and gonococcal infection, my humble and sincere request for Doxypal DRL, doxycycline with lactic acid versus combination, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. And talk please my area manager, Shri.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have Mr. Mohan Bisht. He is from our Nari division, ma'am.
Very good evening, ma'am. All of you, very learnable lesson for your side, ma'am. We have the product, madam, for Cystilia, and it's the patient, madam, for the enhanced fertility with the combination for Minoxidil, Dicarinstol, alkyl-coated vitamin D3, 1000 international unit tablet, ma'am. Best point, madam, is Cystilia, and this we are given the 40.1 ratio. Minoxidil, Dicarinstol, already best one is restored ovulation PCOS patient, madam. Recommended already, madam. European Journal recommended also, madam. So the reduce the HOMA attack, also restore ovulation, improve ART outcome, madam. So my request to brand, madam, Cystilia. Best point, madam, Dicarinstol 27.6 milligram. Other brand you can see, madam, 13.3. We have given one Dicarinstol 27.6 milligram. That we given said, madam, it is for one tablet OD also. So need a blessing, madam, Cystilia. So enhance the limit. That's why मैंने Endorec tablet. This is the suspected confirmed case for Endorec Dinogex 2 mg tablet. Safest long life, madam, 36 months की compare with the other brands. Or we have given a millennium molecule also in the cases in endometriosis and endometriosis pelvic pain. We have the given trial report also, madam, given to the patient 3 months above to 5 years, madam. Already given the trial reports, madam. So need your blessing, madam, for Endorec tablet. Just 49 to the patient, madam. Thanks for giving us, madam, for Endorec tablet also.
Thanks to all, Jackson Pal and all the guests and host also. Really all the speakers, they have given very informative, nice and practical talk. I think practical points means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.